The Life of Valentin Tomberg. Book Review. Anti-Savanainen. Valentin Tomberg and the Ecclesia Universalis, a Biography. Harrie Salman, Angelico Press, 2022. Harrie Salman is a Dutch cultural philosopher and social scientist with a PhD in philosophy. His particular areas of expertise are anthroposophy, which is based on the work of the Austrian esotericist Rudolf Steiner, and esoteric Christianity. Salman has been interested in Valentin Tomberg's thinking since 1986. The course of Tomberg's life. Who is Valentin Tomberg? Although relatively unknown even in theosophical circles, he is a more familiar figure among anthroposophists and researchers of Hermetic Christianity. Tomberg was born in an Estonian family living in St. Petersburg, but the family relocated to Estonia in 1918 after the Russian Revolution. Tomberg had just started studies in law, philosophy, and history at the University of St. Petersburg, but had to abandon them. The Tombergs faced a tragedy when the Red Army shot the mother in the street. Tomberg volunteered to fight against the Red Army, but soon fell ill and was imprisoned for a short period. He had various jobs in Tallinn. For instance, he worked as a French and English correspondent in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He studied law, philosophy, and religion independently at night and passed an exam in constitutional law in 1923. Tomberg was married 2 times. According to Salman, the first marriage was formal only and ended in 1932. However, Tomberg cared for her first wife even after marrying Maria Boleswatov, a Polish countess, in 1933. This union lasted for the rest of Tomberg's life. They had 1 child, Alex. Tomberg lived in the Netherlands between 1938 and 1944. He was fluent in several languages, which helped him secure the position of an honorary consul in Amsterdam. The assignment was terminated when Estonia lost its independence and was annexed to the Soviet Union in 1940. In the Netherlands, Tomberg lectured on anthroposophical themes and formed a group that studied Christology under his guidance. Willem Zijlmans van Emmethoven was the leading anthroposophist in Holland at the time, and his work was oriented toward the practical applications of anthroposophy. Differences in emphasis created tensions between Tomberg and Zijlmans. After they met to discuss the situation, Tomberg decided to withdraw from the anthroposophical movement, although he continued his work with the Christological Study Group. In 1944, Tomberg and his family moved to Germany, a puzzling decision, since he had been highly critical of National Socialism even before the Second World War. Nevertheless, he received a doctorate in law there. Tomberg was raised as a Protestant. His wife Maria was Catholic. Both joined the Greek Orthodox Church in Tallinn, probably in 1933. In 1942, an Orthodox priest found out that Tomberg believed in reincarnation, leading to his withdrawal from the Orthodox parish. However, Salman argues that Tomberg never formally left the Orthodox Church. Tomberg started to feel an affinity for the Catholic Church and joined it in 1945 while living in Germany. It is thus possible that he had been a member of all 3 main branches of Christianity. The Tombergs moved to London in 1948. There he was asked why he decided to join the Catholic Church. He is said to have replied, "Rudolf Steiner wanted me to do it." Many people in Tomberg's circle followed him to the Catholic Church. Tomberg's esoteric views. Tomberg started reading spiritual literature at an early age. He joined the Theosophical Society in Russia in 1917. He read Steiner's book How to Know Higher Worlds and started putting its meditations and ethical requirements into practice. Tomberg had a spiritual experience that led him to take a holy vow to dedicate his life to cultivating spiritual knowledge and its manifestations in the world. In 1920, he wrote Steiner a letter in which he expressed his wish to become Steiner's student, noting that he could not continue his work in the Theosophical Society, which was one-sided and suppressed free thinking. Steiner probably never got the letter. At any rate, Tomberg joined the Anthroposophical Society in 1925, just before Steiner's death. Tomberg provided anthroposophical lecture cycles on the Old and New Testaments. Later, he gave a 3-year-long Our Father course and introduced a divine feminine trinity of God as Mother, Daughter, Holy Soul. His lectures were based on his own spiritual research, not on citations from Steiner. In 1933, Tomberg wrote to Steiner's widow, Marie Steiner, saying that a healthy evolution of anthroposophy would require a community of spiritual researchers sharing and evaluating each other's work, as Steiner had wished for. Instead, anthroposophists contended that any spiritual matter had been resolved if Steiner had presented his views on the topic, an attitude characterized by the expression, Der Doktor hat gesagt, that is, the doctor said. Consequently, they held, the Anthroposophical Society had no need for other spiritual researchers. Yet according to Tomberg's notebook, repeating Steiner's words too rigidly had occult ramifications, activating the chakras of the etheric body without enabling them to perform in the right way. Instead, Tomberg contended, the system of the lotus flowers, that is, the chakras, as a whole become mummified, ossified. Although Marie Steiner initially supported Tomberg, their relationship soured in the early 1930s. She came to think that he was vain and arrogant, and that he had no right to speak in the name of anthroposophy without the consent of the board of the Anthroposophical Society in Dornach, Switzerland. This criticism came in the context of the crisis in the society that had begun soon after Steiner's death and culminated in the expulsion of about 2,000 members. According to Tomberg, Steiner had foreseen the crisis before his death and considered how it could be prevented, say, by writing a will. However, he declined to do so because the Archangel Michael had intervened on the grounds that this would go against the critical feature of Steiner's life work, freedom of the human spirit. This freedom could not be violated, even to prevent ruining his own life work. Tomberg belonged to the Platonic stream, whereas people in the Aristotelian stream implemented the practical applications of anthroposophy. Tomberg seemed to have no interest in this vital aspect of anthroposophy. It may have contributed to his dismal evaluation of the anthroposophical movement, which he regarded as a failure. Tomberg felt that anthroposophy did not have the spiritual strength to resist Nazism, whereas he was impressed by the way the Catholic Church in the Netherlands managed to do so. Salman proposes that Tomberg's negative views were affected by the dark spiritual atmosphere created by the war. Tomberg did not see how various anthroposophical impulses, such as Waldorf education, integrative medicine, and biodynamic farming bore fruit in the decades before and after the war. Tomberg remained respectful toward Steiner even in his later writings, but he felt that Steiner's spiritual science had failed. He even stated that it is impossible to have such a science. Because of this, the prominent anthroposophist Sergei Prokofiev concluded that Tomberg had renounced Steiner and his work. Salman effectively shows that the evidence does not support this interpretation. Tomberg never ceased to believe in reincarnation. He could not do so since, based on his spiritual research, he knew that reincarnation was a fact of life. However, his justification for why the Catholic Church cannot teach reincarnation as a doctrine is baffling. According to him, reincarnation started at the fall and will cease to occur at some point. It is not an eternal law, so it cannot be part of Catholic teachings. Tomberg also provided another reason why the Catholic Church is hostile to the doctrine of reincarnation. Humanity could succumb to the temptation of preparing for a future terrestrial life, instead of preparing for purgatory and heaven. One could, of course, argue that if the Catholic Church adopted the notion of reincarnation, it would have far-reaching consequences for its teachings. Tomberg worked in the Christian Hermetic tradition from the late 1950s. His magnum opus was Meditations on the Tarot, a journey into Christian Hermeticism, which appeared first in French in 1967, and has been translated into several languages, such as German, English, Chinese, and Russian. The book consists of 22 letters that consider the tarot cards as metaphors of the Christian mysteries. Meditations on the Tarot discusses reincarnation and other essential elements of esoteric Christianity. The book has received praise in the circles of both esoteric and exoteric Christianity. The favorable reception of the book reflects Tomberg's mission of uniting different streams of Christianity, the Ecclesia Universalis, that is, the universal church, as the mystical body of Christ. Final thoughts. Salman's book is based on a number of sources, including interviews conducted by the author with people who knew Tomberg. Salman approaches his subject with loving respect, but this does not prevent him from presenting constructive criticism when necessary. All in all, Salman succeeds in producing an exciting and insightful interpretation of Tomberg's thinking and the history and future of the anthroposophical movement.